Well, I think we have everyone here. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to join me. Today, we're going to talk about 3 serious financial risks that every business leader should understand, not simply as technology issues, but really as business risks. My goal is not to overwhelm you with technical language or scare you. It is to help you. And I want to help you understand where your organizations could be losing money, why some of their existing protections may not be enough, and what practical steps you can take today to reduce your risk. So here's what we're going to cover today. First, we're going to talk about the number one security threat facing most businesses, and it may not be what you expect. We'll also discuss business bank fraud, what cyber insurance may and may not cover, and some of the compliance responsibilities that can apply to small and medium-sized businesses. Most importantly, I'm going to finish with clear steps that you can take. So I don't want you to leave with only a list of problems. I want you to leave knowing where to begin. Ultimately, I'm going to show you how to avoid being a sitting duck. So everyone in this room has worked hard to build something valuable. Whether that's relationships, you've earned your customers' trust, supported employees, invested years into your organization. The last thing any of us want is to see that work disrupted or potentially taken away because of one preventable cyber incident. The goal today is to help you avoid becoming an easy target and to better protect what you have worked so hard to achieve. For anyone who may not be familiar with us, Tomorrow's Technology Today helps small and medium-sized businesses manage their technology day-to-day, cybersecurity, and all of their technology needs. We understand how frustrating it can be when technology slows the business down. If support takes too long, you're unsure whether everything's truly protected. Our belief is simple. Technology should help your organization operate more securely and efficiently. It should not create more stress. So we've spent more than 20 years helping organizations reduce downtime, strengthen their security, and make better long-term technology decisions. Why am I urgently informing all small, medium-sized businesses about this now? Why are we discussing this now? It's because cybercrime has changed significantly. The attacks, as you know, they're more frequent, they're more convincing, and they're more automated than what they were even just last year. So the protections that may have seemed sufficient in the past, basic antivirus, a firewall, occasional backups, they're no longer enough just by themselves. At the same time, businesses are facing greater expectations from customers. You're also facing greater expectations from regulators, insurance carriers, and your own business partners and vendors. So that combination really makes cybersecurity something every leadership team needs to address proactively. This chart here, it shows the growth in reported losses received by the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. So in 2001, you'll see that the reported losses were measured in the millions of dollars. By 2025, they had grown to more than $20 billion in losses. And remember, these are only the incidents that were reported. Many businesses never even report what happened, so the true amount is likely much greater. The important takeaway is not simply the dollar amount. It's the direction of the trend that you'll notice. So cybercrime, continues to grow because it's profitable. So cyber attacks are becoming more vicious, more frequent. These numbers here on the screen show why this issue deserves attention at the leadership level. The attacks are not only happening more often, they're also causing longer interruptions and greater damage. So for example, nearly half of the ransomware victims referenced here experience 7 or more days of downtime. So think about what 7 days without normal business access, not to your email files, your systems, your scheduling, your billing, your HR, your payroll, your customer information. What would that mean for your business organization? And what dollar amount would be attached if you were down, couldn't do anything, couldn't move for 7 whole days? So we also know that people are involved in a large percentage of breaches. That means security cannot be handled only by installing the technology. Employees, policies, and everyday behavior also matter, and they matter a lot. So this number here, $1.54 million. When people hear the word ransomware, they often think about the amount demanded by the criminal, excuse me. And so that's the only number that they tend to think of was, oh, they got hit with ransomware for 1.5 million. But that's the only possible one expense. There may be emergency recovery costs, days or weeks of downtime. You're going to have lost sales, legal fees, customer notifications, credit monitoring services, increased insurance premium, and the damage to the organization's reputation. There is also the leadership time involved. So instead of running the business, executives may spend days working with lawyers, insurance representatives, investigators from the FBI, customers, and your IT recovery team. So that's why the total cost of an incident can be much larger than just the initial amount shown on an invoice that a ransomware note would demand. So this slide brings the issue into perspective. So roughly 60% of breaches involve a human element. So that can include things like a mistake, accidentally clicked on a link, a stolen password, someone falling for a deceptive email, misuse of information, things like that. Ransomware also continues to appear in a significant percentage of breaches. And while the average cost shown here includes very large organizations, the underlying lesson applies to every single business. A breach can become extremely expensive once you include downtime, recovery, legal obligations, and disruption. So this is a business continuity issue, not just a simple IT inconvenience. So if it's so common, why don't we hear more about it? That's a great question. One reason is the embarrassment that comes with it. Organizations worry about losing their customer confidence or damaging their reputation. Another reason is that businesses do not know that they've been compromised. So criminals may remain inside of an account or a network for weeks or months without even drawing attention. Typically, in a ransomware attack, the bad actor will sit inside someone's device for about 30 to 90 days, monitoring your every single move, every single place that you're going on your computer, how you're navigating all of your files, your passwords, your emails, and then they go in for the attack when you're least expecting it. So there can also be legal and regulatory consequences. Incidents are often handled quietly whenever possible. And the absence of public stories doesn't mean that the incidents are not occurring. Typically, what we hear about are the big news stories that hit the national news. Rarely do we hear about the small and medium-sized businesses that get hit with ransomware right here in our own communities. And there are absolutely many. There was one that we had that called me just a few months back. They called and said, "Oh my goodness, we don't know what to do. Can you help us? We just got this ransom note." It was for $2 million. And I always tell everyone this is why we do these kinds of things like webinars and try to just keep you educated, because it's a conversation that you should never have to have. As long as you have the right things in place, you should never have to make that phone call to say, "Hey, I've been hit with ransomware. I don't know what to do." And it puts you into scrambling mode. So let's talk about the bad actors, though. The primary motivation for the bad actors is, of course, money. It's helpful to think of cybercrime as an industry. Criminals can purchase stolen information, malware, access to compromised systems, and even services that help them carry out the attacks. So they don't always need advanced technical skills. Many of the tools can be purchased or rented right online. And there is one reason that cybercrime continues to grow. The barrier to entry has become lower, and the potential financial reward remains high, as you can see on this screen here. So what's enabling them? Several things have made these attacks easier to conduct. Criminals can automate attacks using software and bots, allowing them to target thousands of organizations all at one time. So gone are the days where you have the hypothetical man sitting in the basement of his mom's base, or in the basement of his mom's house, excuse me, sitting in the dark trying to hack into other people's computers and steal their information. Those days are gone. Now with AI, these guys, they hire bots to do it for them, and they can walk away and go enjoy the day while their bots are doing all of the dirty work, and they just collect the paycheck. So more devices are connected to the internet. That does include phones, laptops, cloud platforms, security cameras, operational equipment. Every single connection can become a potential doorway if it's not properly secured and locked. So cyber criminals can also operate across international borders. This way they can hide their identities, and then they receive payments through methods that are difficult to trace. So this means we can't depend on law enforcement always alone to protect an individual organization. Prevention and preparation have to begin inside the business. So what is the dark web? The dark web is a hidden portion of the internet that's not accessed through a typical search engine. Not everything on it is automatically criminal, but it does provide anonymity. And then the cyber criminals use this frequently to buy, sell, and exchange stolen information. That includes passwords, financial information, personal records, access to compromised business systems, you name it. So your information doesn't have to look valuable to you in order to be valuable to the criminal. Just even one valid username or password can provide an opening into a larger organization. So they're just working and they are mining all of this information, and they may take some of the low-hanging fruit, which would be the small and medium-sized businesses, you and I, as example, our information. They mine our information to try to get to the next person within the organization to work their way up the chain. So one of the most common things I hear is, we're small, so nobody was going to target us, right? Like, they're not going to get very far. The answer is that many attacks are not personally targeted at first. Criminals use automated tools, like I had mentioned. They use these bots and AI tools to scan for vulnerable systems, exposed passwords, people who may respond to fraudulent messages. Small businesses also can be attractive because they have fewer security resources than larger corporations do. So the criminal doesn't necessarily know your company personally, but they're simply looking for an accessible opportunity. You'll see here about half of ransomware attacks are actually aimed at small and medium-sized businesses. Ransomware was involved in 88% of small and medium-sized breaches reviewed. If you fall victim to a ransomware attack, this is a sobering statistic. If you fall victim to a ransomware attack, there's a 75% chance that you'll end up in bankruptcy within 5 years of it hitting. So we take it very seriously. Again, why are they targeting small businesses? A large corporation, they have dedicated security departments, IT departments. They have the formal policies. They have advanced monitoring. They have people working around the clock to be eyes and ears over all of their devices, over all of their network and the heuristics. A smaller organization may have one person handling technology, and that's just one part of their job. Or they might be relying on protections that were installed years ago, but they've never been fully reviewed. So business bank accounts also don't always receive the same consumer protections as personal accounts. And criminals understand these differences and they take advantage of them. So although money is the leading motivation, it is not the only one. Criminals can steal and sell your information, use your systems to distribute spam or illegal content, and then use your organization as a pathway to attack customers and vendors. There's also incidents that involve revenge, activism, theft, or even theft of intellectual property. So even an organization that believes it doesn't hold valuable financial information may still possess customer records, employee information, passwords, vendor connections, business knowledge, anything that someone else can use. The biggest risk is believing that it cannot happen to you. Most organizations that experience a serious incident didn't expect to be the next victim. It's similar to a fire alarm or an insurance policy. You put it in place before the emergency, not after the damage has already occurred. And the goal is not to eliminate every possible risk. That's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. But the goal is to understand your most serious risks, reduce them, and prepare the organization to respond when something goes wrong. Now that we have established the overall environment, let's take a look at the 3 areas that create some of the greatest financial exposure. The first is people and employee behavior. The second one I'm going to talk about is malware and ransomware. And then the third one is phishing and business email compromise. And these risks are all connected because many ransomware and financial fraud incidents begin with an employee receiving a convincing message. Someone may click on or I'm sorry, when a let's say an employee clicks on a convincing email, they reuse a password that was exposed somewhere else. They may send confidential information to the wrong recipient or place sensitive data into an unapproved online tool. So there's also the possibility of intentional misuse, but most incidents do begin with an honest mistake. But that's why your employees need training, clear expectations, and technology that helps protect them so that mistakes won't happen. So how your employees routinely put your company at risk for a cyber attack. Many risky activities seem harmless in the moment. Someone may save passwords in a browser, use the same password for several accounts, send a file through a personal email account, or use a personal laptop to access company information. Employees may also use free file sharing programs because they're convenient, without knowing where that information is stored or who can access it. These behaviors are usually not malicious. People are simply just choosing the easiest way to get their work done. But that's why businesses need secure tools that are also easy to use for the employees. Access should leave when the employees do. So when an employee or an outside vendor no longer works with your organization, their access should be removed immediately. That includes email, cloud applications, remote access, shared passwords, financial systems, customer databases, and any other platform that they could still reach or have access to. A strong offboarding process is going to protect the organization from both intentional damage and accidental continued access. And it's especially important today because one employee may have access to dozens of separate cloud accounts. Shadow IT refers to applications or services employees begin using without the company formally approving them. So for example, someone cannot send a large file through email, so they upload it to a personal Google Drive account. And then someone else wants to work from home, so they copy documents into a personal OneDrive folder. The employee is trying to solve a problem, but the organization may lose control of where the information is stored. So businesses need to give employees approved, secure ways to share information so that they're not forced to create their own workarounds. Mobile devices create another layer of risk. Most of us use our phones to access company email, calendars, documents, other applications. That means the phone is no longer simply just a communication device. It can absolutely be a doorway into the business. So just ask yourself, are phones protected with passwords or biometric security? Can company information be removed if a device is lost? And are personal and company data separated? Losing the physical device may be inconvenient, but losing control of the information on that device can be far more expensive. And the second major risk is malware and ransomware. Hundreds of thousands of new malicious programs and potentially unwanted applications are identified every single day. That is why basic antivirus alone is no longer enough. Modern security requires multiple layers like monitoring, endpoint protection, email protection, access control, backups, employee education, and a plan for responding to an incident. Think of it as protecting a building. One lock on the front door is helpful, but it's not the complete security plan, right? So again, the ransom itself is not the only cost. There can be emergency IT work, lost revenue, damage or unavailable files now, customer communication, the legal fees, regulatory reporting, and of course, the reputational damage. The business may also be unable to invoice customers, receive payments, or process payroll, which would, serve as used to serve your clients normally. And that's why leadership should understand what the organization's recovery plan looks like before an incident occurs. So how quickly could you restore operations? And who would make decisions? Who would contact your insurer, your attorney, your customers, and your vendors? And then this is one of the most important financial points in the presentation. People often assume that if money is fraudulently removed from a business account, the bank's going to automatically restore it. That is just simply false. Business accounts may not have the same protections that consumers receive with personal accounts. And the outcome can depend on how the transaction occurred, how quickly it was reported, and the terms of the account agreement. So this is why businesses should speak directly with their bank about fraud controls, approval procedures, transfer limits, alerts, and protections that apply to their accounts. Don't assume that you're covered. Ask and document the answer. And then the FTC safeguards rule is another reason cybersecurity has become a leadership and compliance issue. It can apply to organizations that handle certain types of consumer financial information, not just the traditional banks. So depending on the organization, this may include accountants, tax preparers, auto dealers, appraisers, other businesses connected to financial services. The key point is that possessing sensitive information creates a responsibility to protect it. Organizations need to understand which laws apply to them, maintain the written safeguards, evaluate risk, train employees, and document the steps that they are taking. That means it's important to review the policy with both your insurance professional and your technology provider. The coverage, the application, and then the actual security environment all need to match and line up. Even when an insurance claim is approved, there's still things that money cannot fully restore. Insurance cannot guarantee that customers will remain with you. It can't instantly repair lost trust or erase the stress that was placed on your employees and your leadership team. And it can also prevent a second attack if the original cause was not completely removed. Insurance helps transfer some of the financial risk, but preparation, prevention, and proper recovery are what help protect the organization itself. The third risk is phishing and business email compromise, often called BEC. This is when criminals use email to impersonate an executive, an employee, vendor, customer, bank, or any trusted organization. They may ask someone to change payment instructions, purchase a gift card, send sensitive information, reset a password, or provide some type of transfer. These messages are effective because they don't always look suspicious. They often appear to be a part of the normal business conversation. A large percentage of cyber incidents do begin with an email, and the email may include a malicious link, an attachment, a fake login page, or just a believable request from someone the employee thinks they know. Modern phishing messages are often well written and customized. So criminals can research people through websites and social media and then use that information to make the request more believable. Employees should be encouraged to pause, verify unusual requests, especially if it involves money, passwords, sensitive information, or urgency. And then business email compromise creates some of the greatest reported financial losses because it targets the way the organizations move money. A criminal may monitor an email account, learn invoices and how they're handled, and then insert fraudulent banking instructions into a real conversation. And the email may look completely legitimate because it comes from a compromised account. This is why the financial request should never be approved based on only an email. Changes to banking information should be verified through known telephone numbers and another separate method. So when a breach occurs, the organization remains responsible for how it responds, even when an outside IT company or employee was involved. Leadership may need to explain what protections were in place, what information was affected, how quickly the incident was discovered, and what actions were taken. And then there may also be notification requirements, insurance investigations, legal expenses, increased premiums, and then, of course, customer concerns. And so this is why cybersecurity cannot be completely delegated and forgotten. An IT provider can support and manage the plan, but leadership must understand and approve the organization's level of risk. So what do you do? How do you protect yourself? The answer is not to purchase one product and assume that the problem is just automatically solved. Strong cybersecurity combines leadership decisions, policies, employee education, technology, insurance, testing, and a response plan. The first step is gaining an honest understanding of where you are today. And at a minimum, a security program begins with leadership. So the organization needs to decide what information and systems are most important, what level of risk it can accept, and then what resources are available. Someone qualified must be responsible for the program. You also need a risk assessment, clear access controls, an understanding of your legal obligations, and an incident response plan. And that response plan should not sit untouched in a binder. It should be reviewed and practiced so people know what to do during an actual emergency. The written plan needs to be supported by practical protections. That includes encryption for sensitive information, multi-factor authentication, secure and recoverable backups, endpoint protection, employee training, and regular testing. Backups should not simply exist. They should be protected and tested to confirm that data can actually be restored. Security controls also need to be monitored and maintained. A protection that was installed 2 years ago but has never been reviewed may no longer be providing the protection you believe it is. And there are 3 practical steps every organization can take. First, complete an independent assessment. Find out where your greatest risks are, whether your backups are dependable, and which protections might be missing. Second, create a remediation plan. You may not be able to fix everything all at once, so prioritize the areas that create the greatest business risk and build a realistic roadmap. And then finally, follow through. Many organizations complete an assessment, but never fully implement the recommendations. Cybersecurity is not a one-time project. It's an ongoing business process that needs ownership, accountability, and regular review. So based on everything we discussed, the best place to begin is with an honest assessment of your current environment. Our team can help identify where you may be exposed, explain the findings in plain English, no geek speak, and build a personal prioritized plan based on your organization's needs and budget. Even if you believe everything is properly protected, having that independently confirmed can provide valuable peace of mind. So if you have any questions about how we might be able to help you and come partner and work alongside you, or where your gaps might even be, how to get started with an assessment in the first place, don't be afraid to reach out. You have my email address here on the screen, my direct line. Feel free to reach out anytime. My phone line's open, and so is the email. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, or if you are ready to get started and line up a formal assessment, just let me know. I want to thank you all for taking time to be here today. And I know we're finishing up a little bit early, so I will let you have some of your day back. Thank you.